He's back, everybody. Buster Olney of ESPN joining us every Thursday at 10:25. Welcome back, Buster. How you been?
Been doing great. Good to see you guys again.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. I mean, we have been peppered with questions. Where's Buster? Where's Buster? Where's Buster? So I'm glad we finally got it on the schedule and got you back.
Awesome.
Have you enjoyed the first month and a half of the season so far?
It's interesting as always. You know, you think about ways that things happening that you didn't anticipate. And then you think about the top of the National League, which is, to me, so fascinating. Like, there's a part of me that almost can't wait for the National League playoffs because the three best teams in baseball, in my opinion, clearly are in the National League. Phillies right now, probably the best team. The Braves, the Dodgers, right there with them. It's going to be fascinating to see how that all plays out. Really three super teams in baseball right now.
Best player in baseball, Shohei Otani, gets paid massive dollars, and everybody's like, well, I wonder if there's going to be pressure with that contract and going, although still kind of in market, going to the big brand with the Dodgers. He's been as good as advertised.
He really has been, and we had all the stuff involving his interpreter as the season began. And as that was starting, and you remember Otani struggled a little bit in those first week of games. And I remember asking Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, about it. And he said, for Dave Roberts, the standard for a player having great focus is Corey Seager. He said no matter what was going on, Corey Seager was going to do what Corey Seager was going to do. He goes, Otani is like him. So all this stuff is swirling around him, all the pressure, all the focus on him. If you go to a Dodger Stadium game, I mean, it is an absolute circus atmosphere around that excitement with the team, and yet he just rolls on and hits. And I was thinking back to when he signed with the Angels. Some of the evaluators at that time were saying, well, we think he's going to be a really good pitcher, and he's an okay hitter. He's not going to be that great. Mike Trout told me last month that his athleticism really translate in how quickly he makes adjustments, and we're seeing that again this year. He's been unbelievable.
Major League Baseball in the past has been like the way I like my brownies. I like the crispy edges. I don't like the ooey gooey center. All of a sudden, the ooey gooey center of Major League Baseball, the American League Central and the National League Central, they're good all of a sudden. What's happened to the Central divisions?
All of those years of waiting and let's face it, let's be honest, some tanking and all that is coming together. And I tell you what, there are some fun teams. Like Cleveland has always had good pitching, but their offense is better this year. The Naylor brothers, Jose Ramirez. I personally, my favorite team to watch this year off the grid, the main teams would be the Kansas City Royals. Bobby Witt Jr., I think this year, we're early in the conversation about whether or not he or Juan Soto is going to be the MVP in the American League. He's such a dynamic talent. The Tigers are better. The Twins are good. And in the National League, I mentioned things happen that you don't expect. I remember saying in spring training, like, there's no way Milwaukee's going to be competitive. And now they have this great collection of athletes. They're scoring a ton of runs. They're really interesting. The Cubs have excellent pitching. Shota Imanaga is off to this incredible start for them. It feels like that we're finally seeing some coalescing of talent other than in St. Louis, where the Cardinals are a total disaster so far.
ESPN's Buster Olney with us each week, Thursdays at 10:25. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. I don't imagine you've ever been to Slocum, Alabama. No. I have lived here 48 years. I don't know that I've ever been to Slocum, Alabama, but that's where Clay Holmes is from, who all of a sudden might be the best closer in baseball right now, Buster. It's hard to be better than 12 saves and a 0 ERA.
Totally dominant. I remember at the time that the Yankees made the trade for him at the deadline, talking to Brian Cashman, their general manager, about him, and he said, our guys like him internally. We think that he has the sort of stuff that is going to translate at the back end of games. And my God, watching his sinker is really cool. And he should be, for me, in the representing the American League in the All-Star game. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to mention the connection to him that you just gave me the next time I see him, which would be in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Slocum, for those that don't, and I had to look it up. I lived there. I knew it was South Alabama. It's just outside of Dothan.
Dothan, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a chance going to the beach, you might have been rerouted through Slocum if traffic was bad.
You've gotten a speeding ticket from the Slocum PD.
Yes, there's a chance.
So, Buster, asked you about Shohei, your reigning MVP, Ronald Acuna, and Braves fans want to know what's going on. 4 of 31 his last 8 games, only 3 RBIs over those 8 games, 0 stolen bases, picked off 3 times in 2 games. What's going on right now with Acuna?
Well, 2 things. One, he clearly has expanded his strike zone. He's swinging at pitches he didn't last year. You guys saw last year how he had almost an historic decrease in his rate of strikeouts from 2022 to 2023. He went off. My sense of being around the Braves last weekend, we had him in that game against the Mets in Citi Field. Acuna was picked off twice. That there is a sense that, he knows he's behind last year's pace, and it feels like that he's trying to get 5 hits in every 4 plate appearances, and he's being more aggressive, and he's not to the point of being reckless. And I think that translates as a hitter. I think that's happening as a base runner. And it was interesting that Brian Sichter, who manages this team, which has this 162 mentality, decided that he wanted to give Acuna a day off. That, to me, was him trying to send a message to Acuna, basically like, come on, calm down, focus on it. I know this from talking with the Braves players. They always feel like that Acuna is this close to breaking out and putting it together. I think he's just putting a lot of pressure on himself early in the year because his start has been so slow.
We were talking about all the injuries to the starting pitching and stuff, and how back as I think the stat I saw from The Athletic was 1975, where starting pitchers at a high percentage rate went to, well into the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, and that just doesn't happen anymore. These injuries to pitchers, is there any discussion about how to increase starting pitcher player safety? Because we talk a lot about that in football. Or is there anything being done to try to secure the safety of these high-paid starting pitchers?
Not really. In terms of increasing the health of them, I don't think they're going to be able to get off the path, because the two main reasons, and there are a lot of different reasons, and it goes back to travel ball and how much guys threw when they were kids. There are a lot of different factors. But right now, the chase for velocity and the chase for maximum spin rate is the reason why I think most people believe we're seeing what we're seeing. And the problem is, if you have a pitcher, let's say a 4A pitcher, a guy who's kind of a AAA fringy guy, and he has the ability to reach the big leagues by adding 4 miles per hour in his fastball, going to drive line in the wintertime, how are you going to chase him off that? How are you going to chase teams off the idea that they can run out these parades of relievers, everyone throwing 100 miles per hour? Offensive numbers, despite the pitch clock and the regulations against defensive shifts, the offensive numbers are still going down. I think the only way they can restore the preeminence of starting pitchers, increase health, and increase offense is if they have a formative change in terms of how relievers are used, where you tell a managers, look, you're only allowed to use 4 relievers in every game along with a starting pitcher. Otherwise, you're still going to have teams chasing velocity, chasing maximum spin, and pitchers breaking down as a result of that.
Somewhat related to that, Buster, and perhaps this is just the proliferation of social media, every game being on TV. I'm just curious, the managers you talk to, do they think balls and strikes are being called worse now than ever, or are we just seeing the misses more now and they're what they used to be?
Yeah, my colleague Jeff Passan had a great column on that, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, where judging umpires by the rate of success in balls and strike calls, the numbers are actually gradually getting better.
Wow.
The young umpires are really great at pitching to the strike zone that you see on the box. Now, I do think there's a conversation to be had about maybe they should handle the older umpires differently, right? Have those guys work third base, have those guys work second base more, and let the young guys who are really good at ball and strikes, let them do that. But that all said, I think next year you're going to see a form of the automatic ball strike system in place, the ABS system, through a challenge system. I don't think you're going to see a full ABS, because it's going to do that to have all electronic balls and strikes would be to make the position of catcher completely obsolete. So those great skills that, a Brian McCann, a Travis d'Arnaud, a Sean Murphy have developed, those would all go away. Pitch framing, talking to umpires, that sort of thing. And so what they're going to do, I think, starting next year, is to have a challenge system where each team going into a game, and we've seen this in the minor leagues, will be able to basically challenge 3 egregious calls during the course of the game and get that overturned. And I think that'd be a great idea.
Paul Skeens gets that second start tomorrow in Wrigley. Woo! That first start, we saw just about everything. We saw some greatness. We saw shakiness. I asked these guys a random question the other day. I know you haven't done a deep dive on Auburn football coming up for 2024, but I said, more wins this year, Paul Skeens or the Auburn football? And what is the plan for Skeens? I mean, is he going to be a little limited, or are they just going to let him go wide open?
Yeah, I have not done a deep dive on Auburn football. If you were to say Vanderbilt football, I'd probably say Paul Skeens.
I got Skeens.
Me too.
I got Skeens. Yep.
Right? Okay. But I would say, and you hit on a great point about Paul Skeens. Look, his stuff is unbelievable. He's throwing 101, 102 miles per hour. He's got that nasty splitter type changeup pitch that he throws. He's got a great breaking ball. I think in the first start, talking with members of the Cubs, they thought that there were a lot of non-competitive pitches, probably because of his jitters. First game in the big leagues. And he'll be better with that as he goes along. But here's the thing. I mean, we're just talking about protecting young pitchers. The Pirates didn't let him throw more than 75 pitches in his starts in the minor leagues. He threw 84 the other day. He's going to get a lot of strikeouts, which means he's going to throw a lot of pitches. And look, if he's throwing 75 to 85 pitches, he's not going to have an opportunity to get a lot of wins because he's not necessarily going to finish 5 innings. I really hope that the Pirates at some point say, look, we babied pitchers all around baseball. Why don't we let him throw 100 pitches? Let's not, what's the difference really between 85, 75, and 100? At least give the guy the opportunity to go 5 innings. I think it would help the team. I think it would help Skeens.
In about a month, June 20th, Major League Baseball here in town playing at Rickwood Field. I never knew this until the game started happening, that the Phillies twice and the Pirates once back in the 19-teens and 20s. Well, this was their spring training site.
Really? Rickwood Field was?
Rickwood Field was.
Huh.
Cobb, Soul of the Game, and 42 were filmed at Rickwood Field. What is your favorite baseball movie, Buster? Do you have one?
Oh, wow. I think 8 Men Out, which is about the Black Sox scandal in the 1919 World Series. That is a phenomenal movie. Some of the actors, if I remember correctly, basically told the producers, and I think Charlie Sheen did this, for example, where he was like, I don't care what you pay me. I just want to be part of this movie.
Right.
And so they were hanging out. That's cool. Bull Durham is amazing. I thought, and I saw Bull Durham when I was still covering the Nashville Sounds in AAA, and I thought that absolutely rang true. But those two to me would probably be 1 and 2. What about you guys?
I love both of those. I cannot, 8 Men Out, when it's on, I cannot not watch it. I'm a big John Cusack fan. Yeah. When it's on, I stop and watch it every time.
Yeah, I would go Bull Durham. I'm one of those that I thought Field of Dreams was a little overrated.
Yeah, me too.
I agree.
Oh, wow.
I agree with you. It's a little sad. It's a little too much syrup.
It is.
Yeah, I'm with Buster on that. Weren't you an extra in Cobb?
Yeah, I was in Cobb, yeah. I was a Philadelphia Athletic.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, Buster, because not that this is a big deal, but we did it was like a week shoot. Roger Clemens came out. He was in the film. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ron Shelton.
I talked to Roger about that.
Yeah, Ron Shelton, really good writer-director, was the guy behind it. Tommy Lee Jones could not throw a baseball. But there's one scene, and it's when there's an all-out brawl that Cobb, he calls plenty of those with spikes up. But I'm a Philadelphia Athletic coming out of the dugout, and you can see me, but then it flashes to the crowd, and you can see me stand up as a spectator.
So you're both sides.
Yeah, so I'm both in one scene.
That is so
but
awesome.
I thought that was a good movie. I thought it was kind of an underrated movie.
I agree with you. I like that movie, and along those lines, I remember talking with some of the extras for the Billy Crystal movie 61 about Roger Maris and about Mickey Mantle, and some of the people who were there who as players. Like I've talked to 2 players who actually got injured during that shooting because they just did take after take after take after take, and they were just broken by the end of it. It was like a full schedule, 16-hour days at Yankee Stadium.
By the way, The Natural for me, I didn't get mine. The Natural. I loved The Natural when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about it, but I loved it.
Like the fireworks off the light.
Yeah, well, Wilford Brimley was fantastic as a manager, and
He was awesome.
I don't know the old guy that
Richard Farnsworth.
Richard Farnsworth, yeah, he was.
Do you remember who
terrific.
played center field for the Knights before he ran through the fence and died?
Bump Bailey?
But you know who Bump Bailey was?
Sizemore,
Michael Madsen.
right? Was it Sizemore?
Nope. It was Michael Madsen. In that realm,
Yes.
though. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly. Yeah.
Padres Braves. Buster will be just down the road in Atlanta, 6 o'clock ESPN Sunday night. Padres at the Braves, so you can see Buster there as the Padres come to Truist. Thank you very much for the time, Buster. Excellent to have you back. We look forward to this every single Thursday.